Hi guys, it's Angel and this is Cooking with Angel. I'm doing a special recipe today that I've done a couple of times and I always enjoy eating. It is a Plátano Maduro Canoa, which is a canoe in Spanish. And we're going to make it vegetarian today. And then I'm going to make it with some vegetarian rice and beans and also some Tembleque, which is a Puerto Rican dessert of coconut and also cinnamon. So we're gonna actually start with the dessert first, only because it's going to take about 3 hours to cool in the fridge before you can eat it. So again, this is Cooking with Angel. We're on the SND podcast channel right now for anybody who wants to catch us on the podcast. And thank you to everybody who's joining us. Just gonna go on here and see if I can also follow along on my phone. I'm on the portal today, so it's showing me, who's on and this and that, but it's usually delayed. Hey Lillian, how you doing? It's good to see you on here. Thank you for joining me. Okay, and thank you to everybody else who is also joining. All right, so the first thing we're going to start is with the tembleque. I got this recipe from a group that I really like on Facebook. You might want to follow them if you haven't already. It's called Puerto Rican Recipes to Learn and Share. And it's a recipe that serves 8 people. So the first thing you're going to need is 4 cups of canned coconut milk, full fat. Okay, so have them here. Hey, Carmen. All right, so I'm going to get a really to put this all in. There we go. This is a giant bowl. I don't think I needed it that big, but it's here. All right, so I'm gonna put in 2 cans of unsweetened coconut milk. These are, how many ounces is this? 13 and a half. And I have a feeling this is something that's gonna be, something you can doctor to taste. Hey Jim, nice to see you on here. You're gonna see that if you've never used coconut milk before, it has almost like a hard top sometimes. That's okay, you're just gonna mix that in with it. And then the liquid will come right out. Okay, so that's 1 can. And then it doesn't matter the brands of the coconut milk, as long as you don't get coconut cream. The coconut cream is what you would use, let's say, for like pina colada or something like that. But the coconut milk is more soft. Okay, so this one didn't have that top thing. I guess it depends on how long it's been sitting in the can or whatever. All right, so we'll just put the 2 in there. And then we're gonna start that. We're gonna do half a teaspoon of salt. Let me get my salt. Hope everybody's having a beautiful day. It is super hot here today in Florida. Oh my goodness. I have the AC on and it is struggling to keep up. So hope everybody's staying nice and cool where they are. Half a teaspoon, okay, of salt. And then we need 2/3 cup of granulated sugar and half a cup of cornstarch. I've already measured those out. Okay. And then the cinnamon is just like a garnish on top. I don't know if you've seen the picture that goes with this, but if you see, it's just like a little bit of cinnamon. You could also put some grated coconut flakes on top. The picture that I was using is from Goya, and they make a pre-made tembleque. That's also good. But this is my first time making it from scratch. So it's kind of exciting for me. I've always enjoyed eating it as a child. We used to get them like from neighbors and stuff like that. They would give us like a little tembleque in like a little foil pan. And it was always a nice little treat for us. So in any case, all right. We're gonna remove some of the coconut milk and we're gonna whisk it together with the cornstarch to create a smooth slurry. That's the word that they chose here. So let me get a little bowl to do that in. And the cornstarch is really gonna just thicken it up. That's gonna really thicken it up. So I got the whisk here and I'm gonna put this to the side. And I have another bowl here and I'm gonna take, it says a cup. So I'm going to take some of the looser coconut milk. You know what? Let me actually whisk it all, because some of the coconut milk hardened inside the bowl. I mean, inside the pan. Mixing it together. Let's see. Let me actually whisk it all. There we go. All right. Making it happen. All right, so just put that kind of to the side. And then, I'm not sure. I don't know what that is. Okay. I'm not sure either. I don't know what that was about. All right. So I'm going to put this to the side, the whisk. All right. So we're going to take some of the coconut milk. I'm not going to be like very scientific about this because I don't think it really matters that much. As long as you're taking about a quarter of the liquid and putting it to the side. And then we're going to mix that with the cornstarch, because what's going to happen is we're going to mix it all back together anyway. So it's not like the end of the world if it's not exactly a cup. So I'm just going to put what I think a cup of it is in here. And there we go. That's good. All right. So I have my half a cup of cornstarch. So I'm going to just dump that into this milk that I put to the side. I'm going to use the whisk. I'm going to whisk it back up. And I really think this is like a very simple and easy recipe. And it looks really impressive when you bring it over, depending on what kind of a mold you put it in. So for me, I actually don't have any silicone molds, or I didn't at home. So I was able to purchase some from Amazon, and they're really, really cute. I think it was like $15 for 24 of them, so not very expensive. And this one is like a flower, and they have different colors too. So I got these. These are my favorites. My mom said she likes the stars, and they come also like hearts and also like a regular cupcake as well. So, all right. So now we have the cornstarch mixed in with the coconut milk, and it's still very fluid, as you can see here. It's like it's a slurry, like they said. Okay. So, okay, it says grease the mold with a small spritz of baking spray or coconut oil, and then in a medium saucepan over medium-high heat, combine the coconut milk, salt, and sugar, stirring until the sugar is dissolved. Okay, and then remove 1 cup of the milk. Oh wait, I didn't do that. See, this is how I always get in trouble. Hi, Kelly. Remove 1 cup of the coconut milk to separate and to make it a slurry, and slowly whisk it back into the pot. Let it cook for about 5 minutes until thickened or in pudding-like. Remove from heat, divide into molds. Let cool on counter for 20 minutes before loosely covering with plastic wrap and transferring to the refrigerator. Okay, so this is how we're gonna do it. I'm gonna take some Pam. I got some molds in this baking tray because I feel like this is gonna be sturdy enough to put into the fridge. Okay, so I got quite a few here, and I have some extras if I need to have them. And I'm gonna take a saucepan, and I'm gonna put the entire fluid, all of it, the liquid, on the stove. Let's see if I get a bigger saucepan here. I did read this recipe, I promise. It's just been like a little bit of a crazy week. All right, that's very small. Okay. I'll use this big one. Okay, so I'm gonna just, hey Chris, nice to see you on here too. I'm gonna move this out of the way. Put it on my favorite burner, medium-high heat. And we're going to put in all of the coconut milk together with the sugar. Oops. Okay. There we go. And this, I already separated it and mixed it with the cornstarch. Technically, I was supposed to heat it up first and then mix it together, but I think it'll still be okay. And then add the sugar to all of it, and then just stir it for about 5 minutes until the sugar is dissolved. And if you want to see, this is actually very thick. This cornstarch is what's going to make it more like a pudding than just the coconut milk. And it's going to help it hold its shape. So that's it. See how it's very thick when I'm pouring it in here? Okay, it's on the medium-high heat. I'm going to add the sugar. And it's funny because honestly, growing up, I was so impressed with all of these desserts. I was like, oh my gosh, like I can never make this, you know? And then now as an adult, I'm seeing these recipes and I'm like, I can do that. You know, it's not the end of the world. This isn't the most difficult thing. That's easy. So, another dessert that I really liked growing up is rice pudding. I don't know if you guys have had that. And really enjoyed eating that when I was a kid, when they have those like raisins and stuff like that in them. So I'm hoping to make that one day soon as well. Alright, so we're going to set a timer for 5 minutes, which is not that long. And then you see if I have to stir it constantly. 1 second. Yes, whisking constantly. So let me whisk that constantly for about 5 minutes. And then we're just going to take it off the heat and we're going to throw it into the molds. And it says that the molds should be, they're silicone anyway, but I'm just going to spray them with some Pam real quick just to make it foolproof. Hopefully. You could use one big mold if you wanted to. It doesn't have to be a whole bunch of little ones. It's up to you. So we're starting with the dessert, like I said, first, because after that, we're going to do the rest of the food. But this is something that has to sit in the fridge for like 3 hours. So because of that, you're going to want to probably do it first or in advance so that by the time you're finally eating, the dessert will be like shortly thereafter. And I think that this would be something that would be nice to mix with like a nice cup of coffee, maybe some Bustelo or something. A little sugar, more sugar, and milk. Okay, so the next thing we're going to make is the rice, because that's going to take some time to cook too. So I'm just going to make the rice in a rice cooker, just to make it faster, but you could cook it also on the stove if that's what you're more familiar with. For me, I'm just going to make it in the rice cooker because that's pretty fast. And then for the canoas, which is the Spanish word for canoe, we're going to take a sweetened plantain and peel it and put it in a frying pan for about 10 or so minutes, 10 to 15 minutes. And then we're going to put, slice it in half and put the ground meat mixture that we made in it and then top that with cheese. So that's going to be really delicious. And I love to eat that. Like whenever... It's like the sweetness of the plantain and then like the richness of the meat with all the flavors in it. And then to go with that, we have the rice and we're going to make vegetarian beans. So for me, I usually make vegetarian beans only because I have company sometimes that doesn't eat meat. So I know a lot of Puerto Rican people put like ham in their beans. Chorizo, which is like a spicy, kind of very hard sausage. People put all kinds of stuff in the beans to give it flavor. And so I'm not going to do any of that. What I'm going to do is I'm going to put in like a little bit of maduros, which is also sweet plantain. And that's going to give it a little bit of a surprise flavor and thicken it up, the bean sauce. And also we're going to put in red kidney beans. We're going to put in garlic, some onions, some pepper, a little turmeric, because I don't use sazon because of the MSG, and a bunch of other little surprise things. So, here we go. We're whisking our little hearts up. Hey, Carmen. Nice to see you. All right. I'm going to keep whisking. Hey, Cindy. All right, let's keep whisking and whisking and whisking and whisking constantly. Got a minute and a half on this thing. So, it doesn't seem to be very thick, but this is what's supposed to be happening. So let's see. And the meat I'm using today, I'm going to be using Morningstar Farm crumbles, only because normally at home I would, I am at home, but normally for just my husband and myself, I would use, let's say, ground turkey or ground beef. I know people use chicken as well, and any of that would be fine with the plantain canoes. All right, so this guy is just doing his thing, 30 more seconds. I'm whisking constantly. I feel like it would be good to have like a mixer do this or something, because it's really a lot of whisking. I guess this is probably the most difficult part of the actual entire thing. But I don't know if you guys grew up with like making jello and stuff like that in the house. My grandma used to make jello all the time. And then, different flavors. We were always really excited about jello. This is what kind of reminds me of. All right, so yeah, this is actually thicker. And the timer's up. Okay, so let's see what happens now. All right. Remove from heat. Divide into the molds and cool onto the counter for 20 minutes before loosely covering with plastic. Okay, plastic wrap. So this is the mixture. It's still very liquid. I don't know if you can see it here. It's still very liquid. It's not pudding-like. It's very... Oh, well, that's a little pudding-like. Maybe the bottom is more. What I'm going to do is I'm going to just cook it for like another 3 minutes, just in case, because I don't want it to mess up, So let's see. Let's do it. Oops. And the funny thing is that, sometimes I'm like, wow, it didn't come out exactly like the recipe, but that's how life really is. I mean, there's times that you're following a recipe and not everybody's stove is the same, not everybody's oven is the same. You gotta make, for those kind of calibrations, you gotta make exceptions. So this is not pudding-like, really. It's still very liquid. So in any case, I don't know if you guys have noticed my necklace. This is actually a Designs by Phoebe necklace. For those who don't know, my mom is Phoebe, and she was doing a lot of jewelry designing for years, a couple of years, and I enjoyed helping her do the marketing for it and things like that, and she wound up stopping after a while. But we're hoping that when she does retire, she'll be doing it again. So there's some really gorgeous pieces that she's made. And I told her, I was like, maybe I should wear them here and there for the show, why not? I mean, they're beautiful and they're not for sale, but it's something different, So eventually when she does start making jewelry again, those will probably be for sale. But for now, they're not. All right, I'm stirring. This is still very liquid, so I'm going to give it a minute. See who's on here. Hi, Beatrice. So nice to see everybody on here. I hope everybody's having a beautiful day today. It's super sunny and hot where we're at. So I'm just trying to stay cool, even though I'm over a hot stove. But I really enjoy this dessert a lot, so I'm really hoping it comes out delicious. Let's see. Got about a minute left. I'm going to stir it with a spoon because I feel like the bottom is really getting pudding-like, but I might not be really getting all of it because I'm using the whisk. So, just going to oh, there we go. I'm going to scrape the bottom a little bit. Yeah, that is very much more pudding-like. And I'm going to stir it with this kind of spoon, which is like a big, almost like a rice spoon. That's what we use for the rice usually. Okay, coming together. That's actually helping a lot. So now you know. Don't use the whisk. Use like a real spoon. A nice big spoon so you don't burn yourself. Alright, here we go. This is really coming together really nicely. What a humongous difference. Wow. Alright, baby. Turn off the heat. Just gonna stir it a little bit more. Now that I figured it out. Smells fantastic. If you're a fan of coconut, I think this is really a great dessert. Okay. Now, I'm gonna stir it a little bit more. Get the clumps out. It's a little clumpy in some parts. And I really think that's why they want you to do the cornstarch separately, because it could get very clumpy fast. Okay, so if you can see, let me just move over. Hey, Lily. I see that Lily is on. Hi. I'm making the tembleque right now, and I made the coconut milk, sugar, a little bit pinch of salt, and the cornstarch, and you can see that that's getting, I don't know if you can see, but it's gotten very thick. It's not that very liquidy consistency that it was before. So I'm going to have it on a trivet. I'm going to put it in all of these beautiful little silicone containers. I already sprayed them with Pam, which I don't know if they needed to be sprayed with Pam because they are silicone, but just in case, because this is the first time I make this. So I don't want to have a problem with trying to take them out later on and then they're all stuck and crazy and, you know. I don't know if you do know, but those are things that happen to me and I would imagine to everybody else as well. So there you go. All right, I'm just pouring them right into the molds. We're gonna leave them on the counter for 20 minutes and then we'll put them in the fridge for about, I think, 3 hours. If you want, when you take them out, you could sprinkle them with some cinnamon. The smaller the mold, the less time it needs to be in the fridge, obviously. And so these are small, so I might be able to get away with having them in the fridge for like 2.5 hours or something like that. You know, I love to push the envelope. But in any case, it's looking really good. And then also, like I was saying, you could garnish them with some coconut flakes if you have those. And obviously the traditional thing is you're going to want to add the cinnamon. So even if you put the coconut flakes on top, I would recommend putting the cinnamon on it just because that is the way it's supposed to be. Okay. I don't want to spill it all over the place or burn myself. Okay. So, okay. So my mom has been visiting this whole week, and we've made some really interesting plant-based meals. And one of the things that we made today that was really delicious and super easy and fast, if you're interested in something like that, is it's called, I don't know if you guys have heard of this brand, it's called Beyond Meat. And it's plant-based, and it had a lot of protein in it, which I'm always worried about. And making sure we get enough protein, especially eating plant-based foods. And they're bratwurst. So I bought some brioche buns and toasted them in the oven. And then I cooked the bratwurst with some sliced onions. And that was pretty much it. We just put some like mustard or, you know, hot sauce, depending on who wanted what. And they were really delicious. So I recommend them. It's called Beyond Meat, and it's bratwurst. And they make other things also, like meatballs, and they make it's hot Italian sausage. They make a lot of stuff. So if you are a vegetarian, or even if you're not vegetarian, you have vegetarian friends, or let's say you're interested in, you know, lessening the amount of meat that you consume. A lot of people are trying to do that nowadays. then that I think is a really good option as well. Okay, so we're just filling these guys all in because I've had some vegetarian stuff that's not good. So I'm just telling you, they're not all winners. But that actually tasted like it tasted so much like meat, honestly, that I was like, wait, let me check before you take a bite. And then last night for dinner, I usually make a Taco Tuesday, but it was Thursday. I made some refried beans with a bed of lettuce and tomatoes. Well, we didn't have tomatoes yesterday, so we used salsa, guacamole, sour cream, and stuff like that. And then I actually made my own refried beans, which was super easy. I took a can of pink beans, and I sauteed some onions first, and then I took the can of pink beans and some sour cream and some cilantro and some hot sauce, and I cooked it. And as I was cooking it, I kind of like mashed the beans a little bit, and it came out delicious. Also, because the refried beans I had bought had lard in them, and so I figured that might upset my mom's stomach, and she was like, "No, don't make special ones for me." You know how moms can be, but but it was good twofold because I didn't feel like she was going to eat something that was going to upset her stomach. And also, I learned how to make my own refried beans. So, very easy tip. Okay, so I'm going to show you guys. I'm going to move the portal instead of moving them. And I'm going to show you what it looks like. I filled it mostly to the top, not all the way, but so you can see. Okay, so those are my little beauties. And I'm going to set an alarm for 20 minutes, and then I'll throw them in the oven once that I'm sorry. Gosh, in the fridge. A little tired today, but sorry about that. Okay, so moving on to the next thing, which is gonna be the rice. So there's the timer, and then when that stops, we'll put them in the fridge. Okay, so for the rice, super easy. The way I make my rice is like it couldn't really get simpler at all. What you're gonna do is I have the rice cooker. It's actually plugged in. So I'll show you a different way because I usually just wash it right into the rice cooker, but it's plugged in so it's hot and I don't want to burn myself. So a regular bowl will do. So I think it's about a cup of rice per person. That's usually what I prepare just in case. And maybe half a cup per person. It depends on how much rice, you like. And I like to have a little bit extra left over because I like to give some, to the dog. Or if you want to make fried rice the next day, that's good too. So in any case, most of the rice cookers come with this little cup. And you can use that. It doesn't matter what you use. If you use the cup, that's fine. If you don't use the cup, you could use a measuring cup. You could use anything. But for me, what I like to do is I like to do 1-to-1 ratio of rice and water. I use long grain rice, and it's not already cooked. It's not parboiled. It's just regular long grain rice. You could use, my favorite brand of long grain rice is Carolina, because that's what I grew up on. But they don't have that here. So I use canilla when I can, but honestly, any long grain rice. So this is Earthly Grains, whoever that is. And so I already have in, let's see, that's 2 cups, and I'll just do 1 more. And if you don't know, if you have a dog or something at home and their stomach is upset, white rice is really good for their tummy. So sometimes it's nice to make a little bit extra. I throw it in the dog's bowl, and that's really nice. Hey, Erica, it's nice to see you on here. Thank you for watching, everybody. It's just really awesome to have you guys on here. And if there's anything that you would like me to cook, let me know. I'm not afraid of trying new stuff. And if you're interested in being a guest chef, let me know also, because I'm looking for some new, fresh blood. All right, so what I do, the way I was raised, is I rinse the rice with cold water. And I do it about 3 times or so. All the time I'm looking for like little rocks or pieces of rice that are a different color, that shouldn't be. So I'm just going to do that right now. I'm going to rinse the rice with cold water. And as I'm rinsing the rice, I'm just swirling it with my hand so that it all really gets wet. And you're going to see that the water becomes cloudy. That's what you want. And we're going to throw that water out. So to throw the water out, we're just going to kind of like tip the bowl a little bit. And when the rice gets to the edge of the bowl, just stop, because it doesn't matter. You're going to add more water anyway to continue to rinse it. That way you're not pouring the rice all over the place and losing rice that you could cook. All right, so that's one rinse. I'm mushing them around, swirling them. That's two. I got like some little dark thing in here, like a pebble. So we're going to take that out. And then this is the third rinse. I'm a big, rice snob, because I really think that rice is not that hard to make. So it should taste good. You know what I mean? Like, it's not that hard. And sometimes if you have a special event going on or something, and you get plantain leaves and you put that over the pot when you're making the rice, delicious. Tastes so good. Okay, so I got 3 cups of rice. So I'm going to do 3 cups of water. I do it 1-to-1. Some people do other things. And I think it depends on the grain of the rice, how much water you put in. Now, some people swear by the spoon method. That's fine. If you're going to make your rice on the stove, you might have learned to do it this way also. Basically, you're just going to take a spoon, any spoon, doesn't matter, and you're going to put it in the middle. This should work. You're going to just put it in the middle of you see how the rice is covered with water? I'm going to show you. There you go. You see it? No. There. All right. So what you're going to do, what you could do, if you want to make sure, is just put the spoon in the middle of the water, and it should just stand up. Hold on. My rice is not even because I just showed it to you. 1 second. Oh. It should stand up. Oh, it stood for like a second. Hold on. Come on. These are very heavy spoons. Hold on, let me get like a less fancy spoon. Hold on. Let's see if this works. Those are like very fancy spoons. This is like a regular spoon. Come on. There, boom. You see? So it's standing. This is like a magic trick that Puerto Rican moms use to make sure that it's the right ratio of rice to water. So pretty funny. Okay, anyway, since I have it here, normally I would just do this again in the actual bowl of the rice cooker or the rice pot. But since I have you here and I already started this way, I'm going to put in the oil directly into the bowl. And then I'll just throw it all in the rice cooker. So I'm going to use this olive oil. You could use also, which I don't see where I put it. Oh, here. I like to use this as well. Vegetable oil, whatever. A capful, more than enough. Like a little splash, honestly, is good. But maybe half a capful. I don't know, whatever you like. You don't want it to be too greasy because then it's not going to really cook so good. But if you put more oil, you will get what is called pegado, which means literally like stuck. So it's like the rice that's stuck to the bottom of the pan, and it's very crispy. And I like that. My husband doesn't like that. He thinks it's like the rice rejects. But I like it. I think it was like a delicacy when I was growing up. My grandmother used to be like, get it pegado, which means like, do you want the rice stuck to the bottom of the pan? It's not burnt. It's like clear and then crispy. So, I don't know. Anyway, mix it all together. Hi, Christina. Nice to see you on here too. All right, I'm going to throw this all in the rice cooker and then push the button and move on with my life. That's it. Trying to put it all in together. There we go. If it doesn't all make it in, is it the end of the world? No. But it would be nice not to waste the rice. Alright. Put those guys in there. I'm going to just try to Make sure the rice is fully covered and flattened. Now, for me, I like to interrupt the rice cooker once I see all the water has been absorbed and I can see the rice. I like to flip from the bottom up the rice. And pro tip that somebody gave us on an earlier show, you make like a little mountain with the rice and it makes it fluffy. So there you go. All right, I'm covering it and I'm pressing play. All right, the next thing you're gonna make is the beans. The reason the beans are the next thing you're gonna make is because you're gonna wanna let them simmer for a little bit of time and thicken up and stuff like that. So, you know, it would be good to make them next. And the rice, you're gonna wanna let it steam for a little bit longer than when it pops. So that's why I like to make the rice first, because I don't wanna feel rushed with the rice. I like to let it really do its thing because you don't want it to be hard. Okay, so next we're gonna do beans. For me, I like to make these. These are Goya pink beans, but you can make any pink beans if you want. Or really, you can make red beans. Those are good. I like to use the red beans more like for chili and, you know, like beef chili and stuff like that. But the pink beans are usually the ones that I use. Okay, let me get some tomato sauce. And what I use is tomato paste. And again, it could be Goya. That's how I grew up. I grew up on the Goya tomato paste, but you can use any kind you want. It doesn't really matter, as long as it's tomato paste. And it doesn't have flavor already. You don't need it to have any kind of seasoning or anything like that. And this is how I make vegetarian beans. You know, everybody is different. Everybody does their own thing. So if you add something else, you know, that's good too. Feel free to put in the comments, you know, if there's anything that you do differently, because this is a good opportunity to learn some new tricks. And then I'm just gonna open it. Okay. Let me tell you, this electric can opener is the best. I love this thing. And another trick that I learned actually from my hubby's stepmom is sometimes you don't need to use all the tomato paste and you don't want to waste it. You could put it in like a Ziploc bag, whatever you didn't use, and put it in the freezer. Now, if you know how much you usually use, what you could do is separate it with your hand so that you could see like the bag. And then when you go to put it, when you put it in the freezer, you go to take it out, you could just take out those portions of tomato paste. I usually use the whole can if I'm preparing meat and beans, so I'm just going to use the whole can. Okay. So now what we're going to do is I'm going to take my trusty cutting board, and this is again for the beans. I'm going to take onion and garlic and a nice sharp knife, and I'm just going to saute them in the bottom of the bean pot. I think everyone has like a favorite knife. I know I do. Let's see if I find her. Where are you? Yes. Alright. I really love this knife. It's called a Santoku knife. I really like this a lot. I feel like it's nice and sharp and big, but it's also not too big. It's not like a butcher's knife, let's say. So I really enjoy using this. Okay, so I'm going to peel off the first layer of the onion, and I'm going to cut the onion diced. And I'm actually going to cut up the whole onion because what I don't use in the beans, I'm going to use for the meat, the vegetarian meat. So I'm going to use the technique that I learned from watching Gordon Ramsay on YouTube, which is just to go along the grain of the onion. So it's like this. And then I'm going to go cut it into thirds with a angled cut, and then just cut down small. And if you have to cut again, that's okay, you could do that. And he said to like put your fingers in so you don't cut them, which I think, you know, is always a good idea. All right, so here we go. In the interest of saving time, I'm gonna just go ahead and put some of this, just chopped up a little bit smaller, into the pot for the beans. And as you get more comfortable and make this multiple times, you're gonna have like, oh, this is my beans pot, this is my, whatever. This is where I make my tembleque, this is where I make my this and that, So we get more set in our ways, I guess. All right, here we go. That's why they always say it's not good to make something for the first time when you have company coming over, because inevitably you're going to learn something new making it. You're going to run into some kind of a hiccup, but I'm daring, I don't care. And usually, thank God, I've been able to pull it out, like the errors, or just make something really fast that's different that I know how to make. All right, here we go. So I'm just chopping her up. Pieces are very small of the onion. So like between a dice and a mince, I would say. And this might actually be enough onion for the meat and the beans. All right, there we go. I get my pot. And I'm going to use olive oil for the beans. I like to use olive oil, like the way it tastes. This is a good saucepan. It's like a medium size saucepan. This is 2.5 quarts. So that's good for the beans. I'm going to heat up the oil first. I'm going to put the heat on medium. And I'm going to heat up the oil first. Where is it? I'm going to use about 2 tablespoons of olive oil. And the thing with the olive oil is that it really gives it like a nice flavor. Okay, let that heat up for a second. I'm going to cut like 2 cloves of garlic. And then I'm also going to put some garlic powder in the beans as well. I think that helps because we're not putting meat in it. You really want it to have a pretty strong, like not overwhelmingly garlicky flavor, but a strong flavor so that it tastes good. All right, here we go. So for me, when I cut the garlic, I just cut the ends off. I learned that from a Italian mama. And then I just peel it. I just cut the bottom end off, and then I just peel the whole thing off. I know that if you boil them, you can shake them, and then the skins come off. I don't know how true that is, but it's possible. All right, so I'm just gonna cut this very small, thin slices, as thin as I can. Really small, because it's just for flavor. We're really mostly flavoring the oil, if you think about it like that. All right, so we got the 2 cloves of the garlic. So that's 1. Do 1 more, and then we're gonna do some for the meat also. There we go. Peel that bad boy. And by the time we're done chopping this, then the oil should be hot enough. And then we'll just throw half of this onion and 2 cloves of garlic in, and we'll just let it cook for a minute. And then we'll throw in the beans and the sauce and all the seasonings, and then let it cook. And we'll put some plantain, sweet plantain in there. You could use pumpkin, like a little piece of pumpkin. As a matter of fact, I don't know about here, but in some of the grocery stores in the Bronx, they sold like little slices of pumpkin and stuff because they know people are going to put it in the rice, or the beans, sorry. So, all right, there we go, done. All right, save that for later. Okay, the oil is most definitely hot. I'm just gonna put that in there. And it's sizzling, which is a good sign. That means the oil's nice and hot, ready to go. All right. I'm gonna add a little bit more onion. Better to err on the side of having enough than not enough. And pretty much what I've done is line the bottom of the saucepan with onion and garlic. I don't know if you can see it, but pretty much the whole bottom is lined with a thin layer All right, so I'm gonna just let that cook for a minute or two, and then I'm gonna put in some of this tomato paste and the beans. I washed the top of the beans already. And when I put in the beans, I put in the whole thing. I put in the juice and everything. I don't care. Some people, they don't, but I do. And then I add a little bit of water to it. So, and then the maduros that I have here, because I didn't want to use from the maduros that I was using for the canoes, the canoas. I have frozen maduros in the house. They're made by Goya. They're delicious and they are always good. You don't have to worry that I fry them too much. You don't have to worry if they're too ripe. You don't have. They're delicious. They're always good. So I have a big one here that I'm going to chop up and I'm going to put it in the rice. The reason that you're going to put like potato or pumpkin or whatever in the rice is to thicken up the liquid. And you're just going to chop it up. And it'll be a nice little surprise for whoever's eating the beans. Okay, so I'm going to take a spoon and put some tomato paste. That's next. Nice. No, that's too much. Nice big spoonful. Like a heaping spoonful of tomato paste. Should be enough. And again, we're saving some for the meat. So I'm just going to put this one back in there. Then I'm going to throw in the beans because it's really sizzling now. And you don't want the onions and the garlic to burn. So you now calm down. All right, so I'm going to add some water, probably like half of the can with water, and throw that in there. There's still some beans in here, so I'm just going to scrape those guys out. Okay. Boom. Okay. So it's very liquidy. I'm going to do a nice stir. Make sure that the paste is dissolving. You're going to add the plantains. Just use your hands if you want. It's a little slippery, but okay. Throw them in there. Okay, I'm just going to rinse my hands real quick. And then I'm going to put in the seasoning. So for me, I don't use, like I said, I don't use sazon. I don't like MSG. I don't want to put neurotoxins because that's what MSG is in my food. That's just me. So if you like sazon, God bless you. I'm sure I love eating your food, but I just can't do it like at home. And I know that they do make sazon without it, so I'm gonna try to look into that. But for now, I use adobo, fresh pepper. Let's see what else we got in here. Oregano somewhere. There we go. Oregano. A little garlic powder, which pumps up the flavor. And I usually put some turmeric, a little bit of turmeric in there. Because I figure if we're eating beans, it might as well be healthy. And then the other thing I like to put, which, you know, not everybody's a fan of, pimento stuffed olives. So I really like these. So I'm going to put a couple of these in there. And we're just going to chop them up like a rough chop. Don't put your fingers in the jar of olives. Ask me how I know. What happens is you wind up getting like, you know, I guess bacteria or something in there. You're going to have to throw out the whole jar. So use a spoon. And that's good. I have 8 olives. That's more than enough. Okay. I'm just going to chop them like in half. Is enough. And then throw them in. You could throw them in their whole. But I think it would be weird if you're eating beans and you get like a whole olive on your plate. That might be a little, you know, not so good. All right, so they're really pretty too. They got the little pimentos in there. We'll throw those guys in there. And we're gonna throw some cilantro in there since I have cilantro today, which is really nice. That's what I put in the refried beans yesterday. Okay, so with the cilantro, I think more is more. I'm a big fan of cilantro. We're gonna just take like some of the tops off and just pull them off. And that's actually too much, but that's good. It's like a little handful of cilantro. And I'm gonna rinse it, and then I'm gonna give it a rough chop, and then I'll throw it in. And then we're gonna cover the beans and just let them cook slow. And they're gonna take their time, and by the time everything else is done, more than likely the beans will be done too. And also, the timer went off for the tembleque to go in the fridge. So we're gonna do that next. All right, so this is the cilantro. Just give it a rough chop. Gives such a nice flavor to the food, honestly. Okay, there we go. Throw it in there. All right, we're gonna do, I would say probably, that's enough. Adobo, so maybe like 1 tablespoon, half a tablespoon of adobo, a little sprinkle of the turmeric, just like for color and stuff. Sprinkle the garlic powder because you already have 2 cloves of garlic in there, but this gives it a nice little pop of flavor too. And then some oregano, a little sprinkle of oregano. I would say everything is like half a teaspoon. And then the fresh ground pepper. I like to use that also. And the cool thing is that now we can literally put this beans on the back burner. So I'm just gonna stir them and away they go. Let's take this teapot out of here. No one's having tea right now. All right. There we go. I'm just gonna stir the bottom because I wanna make sure that nothing really gets stuck on the beans. And you're gonna stir them every now and then because if not, the beans themselves could get stuck to the bottom and it's not gonna taste very good. All right, so let me cover it. No, it's not this one. Let's see. I have a feeling this is too small, but oh, perfect. Okay. Now, next is the meat. So, what I have purchased is this crumbles. I kept them in the freezer until now because they really defrost super fast. So this is Morningstar Farms Veggie Grillers Crumbles. It's 100% plant protein. They sell also one that is like a chorizo flavor, and it's like spicy. It tastes fantastic. You'd have to do like barely nothing to it. But because they didn't have that in the supermarket, so I'm just gonna treat this like if it was regular unflavored beef and cook with that. But before we do that, I want to show you my beautiful tembleques. You see, oop, they're sliding, but they're very pudding-like already. So I'm gonna put these in the fridge. I'll post pictures for you guys right before I eat them. But they took literally what, 10 minutes to make, super easy and fast. And once they're solid, well, they'll still be jiggly, but solid enough, I'll put some cinnamon on top and it's gonna be delicious. So this is going in now. And the time is 6:28. So I would imagine by like 8:30, 9 o'clock, to have a little tembleque nightcap. Hey Edgar, good to see you. Welcome to the show. All right, so beans are done. Rice is in. Let me just check the rice. I might have to flip it. Now, be careful if you're not used to using a rice cooker or you're not really used to being in the kitchen. There's going to be like a release on the lid. Don't put your hand there because you'll burn yourself. All right, most of the water is absorbed, so I'm just going to use like I like to use a wooden spoon, honestly, and then I'll just move it around a little bit. Hey Wanda, nice to see you on here. I'm just going to go from the bottom up and just one flip, not like 100 flips or whatever, just one. And we're going to make it fluffy by making it like a little mountain in the middle, okay? That's it. You don't want to mess with this too much because it'll get mushy. Alright, so we're going to just whoop, 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 flip it up to make it a little mountain. I don't know if you guys can see that, but that's it. Boom, done. Okay. That guy out of there. Okay, done. So the last thing we have to do is the actual plátanos and the meat. So I'm gonna do the meat first. I'll do the plantains last, only because once the plátano is hot, you're gonna want to eat it. So you don't want to like reheat it. Might be, I'm sure it'll be fine, but I don't want to have to reheat it. So anyway, so to make this pretend meat delicious, we're gonna add some stuff to it. Okay. So first we're gonna use vegetable oil, and we're gonna take onion and garlic again, chopped up, and we're gonna do cilantro and a whole bunch of things. So let's see how we get started here. I'm gonna take the oil, and not too much oil, probably like 1 tablespoon of oil. You don't want it to be swimming in oil. But we're gonna want to coat the pan because unlike meat, this is not gonna release fat, its own, juices or whatever. All right, so we already have some onion left over from the beans. I'm gonna just cut up this other onion and maybe another 2 cloves of garlic. Let's see. Hope everybody's having a beautiful day today. It's Friday. That's why I love doing the show on Friday, because I'm like, yeah, it's Friday. And I figure if you're working, you might want to make like a little special dinner or something. This is a good way to do it, So I'm gonna do the Gordon Ramsay method again on the onion, slicing with the lines. I don't know about you, but I have definitely cut onion before and been crying. So to me, the fact that there's a method to the madness, I'm too happy. I don't like that, especially when I wear glasses and then the onion stuff gets under the glass. No, I can't. And then we're gonna cut it in thirds. So 2 cuts and then some nice small chops. You don't want to make it nice and small. You don't want like a mouthful of onion. And we're gonna let the onion cook until it's translucent, and then we'll put in the meat because the meat is gonna cook fast. This veggie crumbles is gonna cook pretty quick. Once it's all heated up, it'll probably be time you can take it out. So I'll show you. Okay, just a lot of onion. You don't need all this onion. All right, let me cut. Let me see if I turn on the oil. Hang on 1 second. Is the oil on? No, it's not. Okay, let's turn on the oil. Right? You always want the oil to be hot before you put anything in the pan, or else it could taste really nasty. All right, let's do our 2 little cloves of garlic. We've got a nice big one here. Okay. Just cutting off the tail of this garlic, like the bottom, the hard thing. And then I'll just peel it. Okay, the rice popped. That doesn't mean it's ready. You're gonna want to give it some time anyway, because it needs to continue to steam. All right, and the beans are good. Once I put this in the pan, I'm gonna go ahead and stir the beans to make sure that they're not stuck to the bottom of the pan. All right, here we go. Come on. There we go. All right, that's one. Just a little, like a mince of the garlic would be nice. Okay. Just cutting it really small. I have bought the garlic that's already in oil. I don't know if you guys have done that. And it's good. It's very fast and easy to use, but I feel like the flavor is not as strong. That's just my observation. All right, so I'm gonna get these olives out of here. My husband is not a big fan of olives, but I do like to put them in the beans just because I feel like they give them a nice flavor, especially when you're not putting meat in the beans. So this is like a vegetarian show, so I don't want to add meat to the beans. Okay, so you want to laugh? You guys are ready to laugh? Oh, my mom is on this call, on the show. So I may have told this story before, but this is hilarious. So I think it warrants being told again. I, one time, invited a bunch of people over for Christmas at my house. And everybody, my mom was probably already laughing. Everybody had, different dietary restrictions and things that they like and that they don't like. So I made chicken, and I made oh, goodness, I made vegan chocolate cake. I got a recipe from a friend of mine. Actually, it came out really good. It was like a very, very rich vegan cake. Thin but delicious. I made beans. I made tofu stir fry. My mom said she loves olives. I made a whole bunch of stuff. And my mom was like, listen, you're making too much things. You know, you're cooking like crazy. Let me help you in the kitchen. So I'm like, okay, fine. And she's like, what do you want me to help you with? And I'm like, I don't know, maybe with the beans. So she's like, okay, great. I'm going to help you with the beans. So she takes the beans and she's making them and everything like that. And I'm none the wiser because I'm cooking and doing other things and washing dishes and getting the plates ready. It's Christmas Eve, I think it was, or something like that. And so no big deal, right? Everybody, so okay, we have obviously a vegan at the table, right? Because I made the vegan chocolate cake, I made a tofu stir fry, I made rice, and now obviously the beans. I made chicken, and then I made like a steak. Okay, fine. So everybody's like, oh yeah, these beans are delicious. Oh my God, these are like the best beans I ever had. I'm like, oh, my mom made them. They're really good. And they're like, do these beans have meat? And I'm like, no, they don't have meat at all. And they're like, you sure these beans don't have meat? So my mom, she had a blonde moment, I guess. Um, she put pork in the beans. So the thing with that is, not only did I have someone vegan over, but I also had two Muslims. So that was very bad. So they, excused themselves without the beans and everything like that. But it was a big thing. So be careful if you're doing food for certain dietary restrictions. Am I adding bacon to the beans? I don't think so. I added a lot of stuff to the beans, so I'm not going to add bacon to the beans. I know it gives it a smoky flavor, but I'm not going to do that right now. All right, so right now we just have onions and garlic sauteing. And the onions are going to get like a translucent color. And then we're going to add a really big teaspoon of tomato paste. And the veggie griller crumbles. Okay, and I'm going to make the whole bag because why not? I can never get these bags to rip how they're supposed to, so that is genetic. My grandma used to be notorious for opening things and they just would go flying. Like she would just open things and it'd be like psh, psh, all the time. I don't know how she did that all the time, but she did. All right, so onions and garlic are in. Let's see. Hey, Helen. It sounds delicious enough. Yes, it does. It is. It's very delicious. Don't worry. All right, so just gonna move the onions a little bit. I'm gonna throw in the meat. It's a lot of meat. This would be honestly like the size of the pack of meat that I would get anyway. So that is good. This is 12 ounces of veggie crumbles. And then I'm putting in, I think this means water. Oh yeah, look at this. This cooks so fast. Oh my goodness. It says cover and heat for 2 minutes. And then heat again for another 2, remove lid and heat for 2 more minutes. Wow. So this cooks super fast. All right, so let me get a lid. Okay. A nice big lid for that. Okay. All right, so we got the onions, we got the garlic, we got the tomato paste. And this is very frozen. Oh, the reason I leave it in the freezer for so long is that till the last minute, because when it defrosts, it's like weird. It gets like very soft right away. So I'm actually gonna put the rest of the tomato paste in here because this looks very dry. Okay, here we go. And I'm gonna add half a cup of water because this is very dry. All right. Here we go. Let's see. I'm gonna just pour it slowly. That's good. Yeah. Alright, now I'm gonna put in the spices because this thing cooks fast, right? So we're gonna do adobo. The way I do it, I just go around in a circle and that's it. But not pouring it on because this has a lot of salt. And then we're gonna put garlic powder. Even though we already have garlic in there, we're gonna do ground pepper. And usually, my rule of thumb is to mirror pretty much the ingredients that I use in one thing into another one. So that way, those tastes marry each other. We're gonna do oregano. I'm gonna do a little bit of crushed red pepper because I like heat and my mom and my husband do as well. So I'm gonna do a little crushed red pepper sprinkle. A generous sprinkle. And then a pinch of salt. And even though the adobo has salt, I find that I need to add salt anyway to enhance the flavor. So it is salty, but it's not like the same as just adding salt. Okay? Alright, so this guy, he wants to be in here for 2 minutes. Let me stir it up. Oh, excuse me. We gotta add the cilantro. That is gonna be really an important piece to this puzzle. The cilantro is gonna make it really taste nice. Alright, I'm gonna rinse it. And I'll throw it in there. And then I'm gonna actually follow the directions that it says, even though I never do. I'm gonna actually follow directions. Okay, just a rough chop on the cilantro. And just sprinkle it around. We put the water in there. The water really just makes it easier to stir. And it'll cook off. Alright. This spoon is good. Alright, we're gonna just mix it up real nice. You're gonna always want to make sure that the meat is evenly seasoned. So that's the same for any kind of meat. If you don't really cook a lot, that's something that is a really, really good rule of thumb. If you're making meat, anything you're making, you don't want people to be taking a bite and then it's like, ugh, what is that? You know what I mean? Like it's too seasoned. Or if they take a bite and it's not seasoned enough. So we're going to really try to stir it so that it's evenly distributed, even if that means stirring for a little while. Or sometimes people like to timer for 2 minutes. People like to mix it with their hands because then you can really feel like, is it evenly seasoned and stuff like that. Okay, so let me just stir the beans again. That's on the timer for 2 minutes. All right, this is the beauty. The beauty part is coming. Oh my gosh, the beans smell so good. Oh my goodness, I can't even. All right, we're gonna let them continue to simmer on less than medium, like between medium and low on the stove. Okay, so this is the exciting part. Just move this out the way. The canoas. I don't know if you guys have ever eaten this. It's really delicious. Okay. I put them in this bag because they were not super ripe when I got them. I mean, they were okay, but they weren't like fantastic. And you can see they're still not the ripest. This is the regular banana. They say that if it's not so ripe, you could put it in a brown paper bag. Biology, I don't know if anybody knows this, but I used to be a bio major years ago. When fruit ripens, it releases ethylene gas, and what you're doing is keeping the gases all like inside the bag so that it continues to ripen the fruit a little bit faster. So that's the science behind it, and the reason I added a banana that was already ripe is because that banana is releasing ethylene gas, so it'll all help each other be ripe. Okay, enough science talk. So these are my plátanos. They're not, normally I would like them to be a little bit more yellow in color, but this is okay. We're gonna use them anyway. All right, so let me get a new cutting board because it doesn't need to have any of the seasoning on it. Get this guy out of here. Okay. Now, okay, that is the alarm for the meat. And honestly, the meat cooks in 4 minutes. So that was super easy. All right, I'm gonna just mix it up. I definitely added the water. I think that was a good idea. It's really sizzling and now it's nice and easy to stir around. And I don't want it to burn, so I might lower it a little bit. It's mostly on medium. Get to cook it covered for 2 minutes and uncovered for 2 minutes. So I'm going to set another timer. And the uncovered for 2 minutes obviously is going to make the water evaporate. So that's good. And now that I'm here, I'm going to stir the beans again. Again, we don't want the beans sticking to the bottom of the pan. They will burn. All right, and actually, you can even turn the beans off at this point, and they'll just continue to cook, or put it all the way low. That's what I like to do, is put it all the way to the bottom, low. All right, so here's the plátanos. Okay, you don't have to wash this or anything. What you're gonna do is take your knife and make 3 slits all the way down. This is how I do it. This is how I learned. Okay, we're going to chop off the top, chop off the bottom. Boom, done. The slits that you're making is just going to be cutting the skin. You don't want to cut the actual plantain. So when you feel resistance, stop. Then we're going to twist back and forth. That loosens the skin, and then you can peel it very easily. So that's one. See, I cut through it. That's okay. It's not the end of the world. You can cut off the tops first if that makes you happy. This is a very sharp knife. So, and you can see the skin is not very deep. So just lightly slice it. Slice and dice. Hey, Abby. How are you?